Welcome back, my friends, to another video of the Patriotic pickup. On the last episode, video, whatever you want to call it, I got the headliner in, which a lot of you liked. But I thought I'd address some issues under the hood this time. It got to the point where it wasn't staying running. If I took my foot off of the gas, it would die. And I tried putting a wire crossing the diagnostic thing, because that was somewhere I read that was supposed to bypass the sensors and put it back on a pre-programmed ratio of everything running, and that didn't work. As soon as I took and I barely had to have my foot on the accelerator, but every time I would just take it off, it would start bogging down and then die. So what I did, just to reset the computer, was I disconnected the battery. There we go. I disconnected the battery, left it disconnected for a couple days to reset the computer, reconnected it, and started it up, and it's running fine again, just like it was before it was having that trouble. But I still think that it's running kind of rich. You can hear it spraying the fuel in, which it wasn't doing that before. When it's running, you can actually hear kind of a shh sound, and I mean, I don't think it's an air leak anywhere else around, because normally an air leak, it would have to be right here, otherwise it would be an exhaust leak. Anyway, so I still think it's running rich, and I haven't probed any of the sensors, like the mass airflow sensor or anything. I haven't, or the oxygen sensor or some of those. I haven't probed them or checked them with a multimeter to see if the voltage is reading correct, or if it's reading at all, to see if it's working. I haven't done any of that. I figured I would do something a little bit more fun. So if it's running rich, it's getting too much fuel and not enough air, and the ratio is messed up. If it's running too lean, it's getting too much air and not enough fuel. Well, if it's wanting to run rich, then that means it needs more air. And what better way to give it some more air than with a leaf blower? Alright, so this is just for fun purposes only, I guess. Just to see if it runs better, or if it helps at all. If it ends up running better, then I do know that there is... If it runs better, then I know it's been running too rich, so it confirms that it's been running too rich. If it doesn't run at all, then I know I've put way too much air in, and then it's not able to keep up with the amount of airflow. And then if it runs worse, then again I've done something wrong. Anyway, but then again, it could be argued that everything I'm doing is wrong, because I'm not doing it the right way, but I'm doing it the fun way. So, connect this to there, and I have this. Where do we want to put this? Where do we want to put this? Okay. Stick that there, maybe. Pick up my flashlight. Blind myself, and you probably. Put this here. Then go around this. Slip that into there. And then fix this in here a little bit there. So it's a loose connection. So this one is kind of loose in there, and then this one down here is loose. And then also there's this hole here in the air filter housing. So let me plug this up and go ahead and turn it on, and we can feel how much air is leaking out. So it's not going to be completely pressurized. It's just going to be adding some more air. There should be a good amount escaping here, so we'll try it that way first, and if it works, okay. If not, then we'll put some tape over that hole and tape up the connections there to actually make more forced air to go into it. Alright, so I've got it plugged up, so let me turn it on, and it might get loud, just as a warning. Excuse you. So I might need to tape this one at least. But then again, that does prove that it, well, I believe it proves that it has enough pressure, because with it pressurized like that, the air has to escape somewhere, so it failed at probably the weakest joint. So let me go grab some tape and put it on that one at least, and then we'll turn it on again and see what else happens. Alright, got the tape on it. Test number 2. Yeah, there's a lot of air. Yeah, there's a lot of air coming out through this hole. So it's building a good amount of pressure in there. So let me move the tape and move the flashlight. Okay, so I haven't started the truck since yesterday. And normally I have to pump the... There we go. Normally I have to pump the gas pedal in order to get it to start, because I'm assuming it's choking itself off. So I'm going to start the blower and then try starting the engine and see what that does. I'm not going to touch the gas pedal. I'm going to turn the blower on, try to start the truck, and not press the gas pedal at all. And we'll see what happens. Okay. Foot's not on the gas. I mean, you can't hear it for the blower. The blower's kind of loud. It's kind of hard to tell if there's a difference in how the engine sounds with the blower on. Normally when I try to hit the gas, it's not immediately responsive. I have to hit the gas, it takes a second, and then the RPMs start coming up. So I'm gonna try hitting the gas a little bit now, and we'll see if it responds faster. Okay, now let me turn the blower off again. And again, hit the gas. Well, maybe it's not doing so much as I thought it was. I'm gonna put tape over that hole I'm gonna put tape over that hole in the that thing. I'm not getting the same smell as I normally do when I have it running, so maybe that's an improvement, because normally you do smell like unburnt fuel. Maybe I am getting a hint of it, but it's definitely not as strong. So I'm gonna clean this off a little bit and put some tape on it. And I apologize if I'm pointing the wrong direction with the camera. But let me throw tape on there, and actually let me go ahead and put some tape on this and just completely seal that up, and then I'm gonna try it again and we'll see what happens. Of course, the problem is if it ends up running better with the blower, I mean, and that means maybe I can somehow figure out how to actually mount the blower underneath the engine and have a switch for it on the inside and run it like that. I know I've looked at several forums online, and a lot of them say it's like, no, don't bother putting a turbo on a 4-cylinder. You know, at best you might get 2 or 3 horsepower out of it. You know, you're better off, you know, by the time you put a turbo on it or a supercharger on it and do all that work, you know, you're better off just buying a 350 and putting that in. It costs about the same amount of money. And yeah, if I were to actually buy an actual supercharger or turbocharger and go through the headache of that installation, of actually, you know, putting it in the exhaust, you know, to be powered by the exhaust, or actually trying to put one where the belt would be to be powered that way, then yeah, I can see how that would add up. But if I just, as crazy as I am, if I just put a leaf blower underneath the hood and get it to run off of the alternator and battery like a normal blower would on an inverter being powered by a car, and that accomplishes the same thing, then that's, for me, a whole lot cheaper than going through the trouble of buying an actual supercharger. I'm not going, so this video is just me experimenting with it. I'm not actually, I'll probably go ahead and just publish this and put it up. I'm not gonna wait until I get all that other work done. If I decide to do that, I'll do that. I'll save that for another video. This is just, I haven't put out a video in a week, 2 weeks, whenever the last one was, I don't remember. But I just want to give an update and just for experimentation, just to see, you know, what'll happen if I do this, what'll happen if I do that, sort of thing. I mean, there is a lot of room right here that I could put the blower. I could put it between the 2 horns and above the gas tank emission thing, whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called. Or is that the... No, that's the vacuum, the vacuum bulb, the diaphragm that keeps the pressure on the vacuum lines. That down there is the fuel, the gas tank fume recycler thing unit. So yeah, I do have a lot of room right here that I could somehow make make a mount for this and put it right here. And yes, it plugs into alternating current, but I'm sure it's 12 volt. That's just warning labels. I'm sure it's just a 12 volt blower. It might say it on it somewhere. I don't know. Yeah, it just converts the alternating current power to direct current to run it. Maybe. Maybe not. I assumed it did because it's so small that it wouldn't actually be an actual alternating current mode. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm just going to shut up now. Alright, so let me get the tape and do that, and I'll bring you back. Alright, it's definitely building pressure now. I got the tape there. I got the tape down here, and that one's still there. When I turn it on, you'll actually see the hose expand. Hopefully you can see it. So it's definitely building pressure now. So let me go back around, get the fan on, and turn the truck on, and we'll see if that makes any noticeable difference. Alright. Blower on. Okay, again, I'm not going to hit the gas. Come on. So it's definitely putting pressure into it, and it still has excess pressure because of the tube was still inflated. Of course, I still wouldn't know if it was. I still wouldn't know if it was running rich unless I drove it with the blower on it for a while and then, you know, check my the fuel. Well, it's still going to be throwing the same amount of fuel in there, but if I'm adding air to it, then that should make the sensors, oh no, that would make the sensors change for it to be dumping even more fuel into it, wouldn't it? Because it would sense the excess pressure. So So I might end up having to replace all the the sensors anyway. I mean, they're not, collectively they're not that expensive. The fuel injector is a whole lot of money. I don't want to have to buy a new one of those. Hopefully it's just the sensors, not the fuel injector's messed up and it's dumping too much in. One other reason why it might be running differently or having a hard time running is the last time I filled it up, well, I didn't fill it up, I only put 10 gallons of gas in it. I used this stuff to help clean the fuel system. So maybe, I mean, unless this cleaned it to the point where then it's getting too much fuel, and I was better off with it partially clogged before I cleaned it. Although, so this is the second bottle actually that I've put through this. The first one was a different brand, and it was a smaller bottle of fuel injector cleaner. I ran it through it, and then I got this one and put it through it. And that's the only thing different. The gas that's in the tank now has that stuff in it. So if that actually cleaned it, like I said, to the point where the fuel injector is just really dumping the gas in and making it run rich, that would be the only other, or that's another variable that I've thought of. It may not be the only other one, but it's a variable that matters. I'm I'm trying to think of anything else that I had the cover on the air cleaner. I had it upside down so it was able to draw more air. There was a crack around the top for more airflow. I have since then, but I drove it for more than a week like that, and I wasn't having any issues. And then when it started with the wanting to bog down and shut off at idle, I had flipped it over and put it back normal again, and that's how it is now, original. So that was a variable, but that I flipped it back over after it was having trouble bogging down and dying, which it was still bogging down and dying even if I removed the air filter housing and the cover and the air filter completely. So it's not that it was getting choked off by the air filter, it was getting choked off by running too rich. Again, that's one reason why I assume it was running too rich. Anyway, that was a fun experiment. I don't really know if it helped, or if it would help in the long run. I wouldn't know that unless I was actually driving it with this blower attached to it, and drive it for a week and see if my fuel economy was better or worse than the last week I was driving it, and the gas just seemed to be just drinking it. So I might see about just going ahead and figuring out some sort of setup to actually have this in here. I'd replace all the duct tape with aluminum tape for actual furnace duct work, because it would be more heat resistant on those. And probably just, again, have it somehow figure out how to put this settled down a little bit further in this corner here, and and zip tie it so that it doesn't move around too much, and then just have another hose. I have another hose like this. I could cut it so that it's not all this long distance here. I could cut it shorter and have it just go from there to there in order to work. And then I would just have to wire it either run this cord through the firewall and to the inside, and then get a little adapter to go on the cigarette lighter to make it a actual plug-in. I've seen those. Either do that or figure out how to wire this. Actually, that'd be better, because if I wired this directly to the battery or alternator, it would be running. Well, I'd have to get out and turn it on and shut the hood and get back in and turn the truck on and everything. If I run the wire to the inside, or at least run some wiring to the inside, then I could leave it on out here at the unit and then just plug it in there to turn it on. And then if it works and it does help with the fuel economy, then eventually I could actually hardwire it in, and I could put an extra switch on the dash to turn it on and off instead of having to plug it in and unplug it. I could actually just have a switch I could flip. Then I could just get in the car, flip the switch, turn the ignition, have it turn on, and go on my merry way. It's again, this was all just experimental. It was just to see what would happen if I did. Another thing I know with dogs are after something. Another thing I know from reading about superchargers and whatnot is it can make your engine run hotter, so another thing would be is, if I do have this set up and I'm driving around, I would definitely need to keep an eye on the temperature gauge on the inside, and the temperature gauge moves. Hopefully it's correct, And if I'm driving from here to work and just in the, the little distance from here to work, the needle goes up too high, then I would know something is wrong. It hasn't done that yet, so I'm assuming it's the thermometer is working correctly. So that's one thing I wouldn't have to replace. But I would need to keep an eye on that if I do something like this. Anyway, thank you for joining me. Thank you for taking time out of your day in order to watch me do some probably stupid stuff, admittedly, but I appreciate it, and I appreciate, I would also appreciate it if you're not subscribed to my channel to go ahead and subscribe, and hit the like button if you were at least mildly amused at my idiocy, and go ahead and leave a comment. If you have any thoughts, any suggestions, any advice, I would love to hear it. And have a good night.